Hi there. This is the Pennsylvania Clinical Network podcast, where we feature our member physicians and the positive outcomes they yield every day at PACN. I'm Dr. John Pagan, CEO of the PACN and your host. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Gombosi, who practices in Northern Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Dr. Gombosi, please tell us the story of how your practice ended up where it is at the current location.
I had been an employed physician most of my career, but certain aspects of being an employee over time, feeling more like a commodity and being called a provider, and just losing the some of the independence and the respect as being a physician. I had decided 5 years ago when they had wanted to double my restrictive covenant that, I no longer wanted to kind of be an indentured servant or slave to the system, and wanted some independence, to be out on my own, and also a new challenge. And I think with my faith, and God was speaking to me in a way and saying, you really, now would be a good time, to go out on your own. So I lived north of Williamsport at the time, and had also practiced in Tioga County, Wellsboro and Blossburg, Pennsylvania. And so I kind of was interested in a location for private practice on the northwest side of Williamsport. And driving through that area, there was this old building that was a two-story stone building from 1806. It was the Squire Hayes homestead. And I looked at it, and it was vacant. There was a bank teller machine outside it, because it had been moved actually from the original location and placed in front of what was Robert Hall Village, and was used as a bank then. And I just fell in love with the building. The location was perfect, and got in touch with the bank, who had tried to sell it on previous locations or times and didn't get what they were looking for, and actually worked out a great deal. And I said, well, if the writing's on the wall, and this falls into my hands, then let's go. And it did. And I couldn't be happier, actually. Been very, very pleased with the practice and the location.
That's wonderful. And I guess your story about moving from employment to independence, is inspiring too. As we know, a lot of the trend is the opposite, that more and more docs are becoming employed and actually giving up their being independent. What do you find most value again back, I guess, being in control of your practice? What aspects do you find rejuvenated or refreshed about?
Well, I'd say number one is freedom, freedom of conscience. Being able, we're a Christ-centered practice. We take care of people of all denominations, all races and belief systems, and also we're not restrictive because Christ wasn't restrictive. And so our name, Open Arms, Internal Medicine and Pediatrics, actually came to me in church prayers. Like I had his open arms, and my daughters, I have 3 lovely daughters, and my wife said, his might be seen as a little restrictive. So we just dropped that and became Open Arms. With that philosophy and kind of basis, when we went to hire, we're looking for people with similar kind of open arms and similar thought that we're going to be welcoming and provide that personal touch. And I could not be happier with the staff that came to me. I met with other physician colleagues in the area, and they told me about these 2 individuals who used to work together for a nephrology practice. And their skill, expertise, um, again, they were the reason I've been successful. My office manager, Anne, is just phenomenal, and our RN Denise, they were the two original employees, so it was the three of us initially. And again, with their prior experience, expertise, kindness, um, it's that's been great. Being able to choose a staff that meshes well, works together for you, as opposed to a system where you're lucky if you're even involved in the decisions of who gets hired. It's again, that's been very refreshing.
That's wonderful to hear. And I think, in the network, that's one of the things we try to espouse and facilitate too, is that the practicing physicians are the ones that are determining what's happening. And thank you for your service on the quality committee. Again, one of the many committees that the PACN has, that where it governs itself. So the decisions don't come from on high, they come from us, as practicing physicians in determining what happens next. And it's nice to hear that. Are there other aspects of the PA Clinical Network that are helping you overcome some challenges being independent?
My answer to that is wholeheartedly yes. Honestly, I don't know that I would be financially viable without the clinical network. We have seen a shift to the paper for performance model. And with that, you have to track a whole bunch of different items to show that you're providing quality. And as you stated, I do sit on the quality committee, and I, like many physicians, find some frustration from the number of measures, but that's in a sense the game we have to play now. Some of the measures have links to improved quality, not all of them do, but the payments are linked to accomplishing many of these quality measures. And so without the PA Clinical Network providing kind of the expertise, the back out, and negotiating the contracts to improve the reimbursement that we get as physicians, um, I don't see how I'd be viable, financially viable, because all this requires increased staff and resources. But with PA Clinical Network's backing and utilizing some of the help of your staff, it makes our process quicker, easier, and more rewarding. And I had actually kind of written a letter, I think, to you at the end of last year or beginning of this year, where I stated my bottom line became positive when I got the quality incentive payments because of this network. So, I am grateful.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And that's what the network's all about. I think, the Pennsylvania Medical Society, was the founder, or this is the brainchild to do that, to make sure that docs still had an option, and to let them realize that coming together, even though independent, you can access different quality programs which you couldn't access alone in solo practice or with a smaller practice. So with the common data backbone that we have, we are able to aggregate those numbers. And I think you said it very, very well. Not all of those measures make sense, but they are the measures that the payers are asking for. What hopefully does make sense is as all of us raise our gaze a little bit from not only the patient in front of us in the exam room, but the whole community of patients, and delivering better care, that in the long run, better care is being delivered both to the individual and to the community. But you said it exactly right, that until we as physicians get a little bit more strength and power in directing what is quality, we do have to jump through some of these hoops, like you say, in order to get recognized. But yeah, no, that is wonderful to hear, and certainly what we want to accomplish with your practice, and possibly with the help of the PACN, or just individually, you have an inspiring story over the last 5 years, how you've been able to recruit your manpower and expand your service to the community. What do you have any goals in the upcoming year for your practice, either areas of growth or things that you want to um, enhance in your practice, and maybe where the PACN may fit in with that, or be able to help with?
Sure. I had mentioned my starting staff. We've actually growing to the point now that I have a physician assistant working with me. We have opened up Wednesdays because one day a week I do um, uh, sleep medicine consults up in Wellsboro, so I'm away from my office, but with 3,000 patients now, which is pretty good growth in a matter of 4 years. I needed more staff, and so we have an RN who's a part-time who works Wednesdays, and then we have a couple of others. So we're actually up to 7 employees now, and we're hoping to fill our schedules more completely. There are some days I feel like the Maytag repairman, whereby there's not a lot of patients looking around like, how am I going to pay for everybody? Because ultimately, this is not the managed care model that we had back in the 90s, where you're getting a per member per month payment just to have them on your panel. It still is dependent upon patient visits. And so I hope to kind of grow and fill those patient visits, but not so much that when waves of illness come through the community, we're overwhelmed. So maintain the personal touch. Our big philosophy is mind, body, and spirit. And we don't want to neglect any aspects of our patient in those 3 realms. I think medicine very good at addressing the body illnesses, and to a lesser degree the mind. And I think too often the spirit gets left out of the equation. And so continuing to grow the respect we've developed in the community, the reputation, and the personal touch that we provide. I still see my own patients in the hospital. There's one other physician I share a call with. And so there is a big time commitment, but it's, again, very satisfying. So I would love at some point in time to be able to get a like-minded colleague, but I don't see that happening too soon because trying to afford that would be difficult. Now, as far as where will PA Clinical Network help us, we're actually moving into some of the Medicare products, and you can probably talk better about what that initiative is, because we're one of the founding practices that are going to be part of that.
Right. So I think what you're mentioning and goes into also kind of shifting, there's such delayed gratification in this game with the quality things that you're right. At least in the beginning, it's very hard to have a sustainable, predictable income. But once you're in it for a while, yes, because what you've done this year or last year starts to get rewarded now. So, that 18-month delay, it's pretty hard. But once you prime the pump, it gets a little bit more predictable. And sure, the Medicare ACO, which you're speaking of, is this is our first year that we're in that with Medicare shared savings. Again, that'll realize its fruition hopefully next year there. But that is an area of growth too that we're looking at as well. And I think things will swing back to, you will take care of a whole community and you'll be reimbursed for that as a whole community. So if you keep people healthy, there's opportunities there for sharing savings in that. So yeah, a lot of growth for you as well as the network together. And we're so proud to have you as part of our founding members and part of the PA Clinical Network there. Is there anything as we wrap up that lastly that you want to share with your fellow community independent physicians that are out there?
Yeah, I think I'd like to thank them for being part of the network too, because um, at times we can feel like we're the lone fish swimming up against the stream, and especially with the big corporate takeover of medicine. And so I am, grateful that there are like-minded colleagues that are willing to be independent. We are leaders. We're that by nature. We're independent. Physicians in general are, but we're leaders. And the large corporate world of medicine doesn't want a lot of leaders. I think they want a lot of followers who will follow the corporate model. So the joy of being independent, the ability to practice what we believe is so important. And don't forget personal health, because we didn't get into that, but I have a lot of outdoor and outside interests. I think I could sum it up in faith, family, and freedom. I do sit on my parish council. Um, I have a wife, 3 grown daughters, still waiting for my first grandchild. And I have fruit trees, garden. I hunt, I fish, I hike. We go do adventure vacations as a family. So it's that um, foundation that I have outside of medicine that allows me to kind of keep the energy and passion going in the medical world. Um, so, and then one of my other big passions, I do sit on the National Board of the American College of Pediatricians, and there are some issues that we differ with the American Academy of Pediatrics, child gender dysphoria being one of the big ones, but some areas of medicine that I think have moved in a harmful direction. And so having independent physicians who are willing to stand up and speak out against what might actually be harmful is important. And one of the biggest roles we have, and the reason people come to me is because I'm independent. They know I will send them where they can get the best care, that I'm not beholden to a health system, that I truly can find them the best physicians, specialists when I need to refer beyond. And they know they're getting, again, a personal touch that's caring.
No, that's fantastic. And yeah, we've just kind of touched upon a lot of important things in medicine, namely one of the most inspirational things I've heard today is that, your willingness to step up and make a difference and make a change, that not to just go with the flow, not to just go downstream because that's where the water's pushing you, but to do what you think is right, for your patients and yourself, and make the efforts that are needed. Change starts with us. And unfortunately, the physician voice, as you said, is often drowned out or part of, a bigger health machine where the doctors do have an important role to play in directing the future of healthcare. And I'm very excited to be part of the clinical network, as I believe you are too, because we are showing the way of how you can make a difference and still maintain your independence. So again, we can go on for a while and on all the great things and the wonderful professional, personal, and faith life balance that you're striking both in your practice and individually, that's keeping you going. And I know that's a whole other topic is physician wellness and health and how to maintain that. But we really appreciate your time, Dr. Gombosi, and the insights you shared with our audience today. Once again, I'm Dr. John Pagan, CEO and chair of the PACN and your host. Thank you for tuning in to the latest PA Clinical Network podcast.